Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
The Nets are clowns, bro. The Nets are clowns. Down 14, 3 minutes and 6 seconds to go, and they're emptying the bench when there's no James Harden, when there's no Embiid, when there's no Tyrese Maxey. Why do you ask? Because they're a bunch of losers. Because they are filled with Kyrie Irvings and Ben Simmons of the world. Ben Simmons is acting like my man went 15 of 15 from the line when he shot 50%. He gave us our chicken nuggets, and the dude still blows. He's the same exact player. Whoop-de-damn-do, you could get a couple assists in a regular season game. Whoop-de-damn-do, you can score just over double-digit points. You blow at the sport of basketball when it comes to the most important times of the season, and you suck. It's just that simple. You are a bad basketball player. You blow. I love listening to the broadcast. That's very sarcastic, by the way. And they actually mentioned, they thought that this would be a genius statement to make for the entire basketball world to hear, that Ben Simmons is amazing. He does everything out there so well except for shoot. We're doing this again? We're doing this again. Was the fans as harsh as we thought? No, not really. Did the lack of anticipation due to the starters not being there play a role? No doubt about it. I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I dissect the lack of boos. Well, it was definitely intense when the game was being played, don't get me wrong. We did have to admit, though, that we probably thought it would be even more aggressive. And I'm going to chalk a little bit of that up to the fact that, you know what, we're worried about the Sixers. You know, maybe I'm reaching. Maybe I'm going a bit too far. But there's a part of me that wonders, are we becoming such a smart fan base where it's like, you know what, Ben? You're not even worth the time. Yeah, we'll throw the booze in there and we'll let you know we hate you. But at the end of the day, the Sixers kicked ass, and that's the most important part. The most important part of the day was not you. We're not going to waste our time with you thinking that you have us where you want us emotionally, because your ass just got annihilated by Paul Reed. George Niang is in the face of Kevin Durant, and he's yapping all game long. And I thought at one point, dude, you're playing with fire. I thought at one point, maybe you should calm down a bit, because if you wake up the beast, you're going to be in some trouble. But PJ Tucker's defense was ridiculous. His offense, not so much. The air ball of the three, even some of the shots that he took when he was a foot away from the basket, it wasn't even close. So I do have my concerns on whatever the yips were of PJ Tucker, because offensively, I still have my issues. And if I'm going to look at Matisse Thybulle every single year and say, yo, dude, I can't just live with your defense. You got to give me something on the offensive side. I do feel obligated to keep it 100 with PJ Tucker as well. But the fact that Kevin Durant only put up 14 shots, that's very important. Now, he had 9 of 14 from the field, but ultimately, PJ Tucker is annoying, and he's always in your grill. Ben Simmons at the 5. But it's just amazing to see Paul Reed step up and deliver. And I kind of figured that Doc Rivers would go with Harrell in the beginning of the game, and I don't want to downplay what his role was early on, because there was a time when he was a spark plug. The box score says what it says next to his name, but I thought in the beginning of the game there was something to be said about the energy that he provided, and the fact that the Sixers were taking advantage of some poor defensive rebounds for the Nets, so they were able to accomplish a lot of offensive rebounds, which gave them second chance opportunities. So whether it was a three going in or them just playing with more energy and caring a bit more and working harder and fighting a lot better, you know, there were a lot of things that happened off those second chance opportunities, but most importantly, they were scoring the basketball. Shake in the fourth quarter. It was so cool. DeAnthony Melton able to knock down those threes. Even Korkmaz leaning to the left, buried a big three. Thybulle, now he got injured, and we have to see the status of him. Everybody and their mother is basically injured at this point, but even Thybulle got a basket in there and knocked down a triple. your team all around answered the bell. And I thought they felt the high intensity of what the night was going to bring. And they really did fantastic. I'm so proud of them. I had a feeling. I had a feeling that they were going to compete really, really hard. Now, eventually, maybe would the average even out? And what I mean by that is when the Nets took the lead in the second half, maybe one of those times the Sixers just don't have enough due to the lack of talent. Because Kyrie would make a shot, or Seth Curry would make a shot, or Kevin Durant would make a shot. But every time the Nets did take a lead, the Sixers were right there with an answer. Whether it was Tobias Harris after the ankle injury, he's driving the basket, or he's driving the basketball, he's going towards the basket downhill, or George Niang with the big three, or Paul Reed with the finish and the hustle. He also had 3 steals and 2 blocks to add on top of his plus 21, his 19 and 10. So put him on a nice double-double list. So now we're going to have the typical Doc Rivers, Paul Reed, Harold debate, probably. But I still want to recognize what I thought Harold's role was. And by the end of it, you got more of Paul Reed. You got your 30-plus minutes. But I do believe it's an embarrassment by the Nets. I don't give a damn what their schedule is. I don't give a damn how many games are upcoming and when they see certain teams in the next few days. I don't give a damn. When you have that type of talent with 3 minutes to go, down 14, and the Sixers are so damn shorthanded, and you say, I quit, that describes exactly what that franchise is. That describes exactly who they are. Kyrie's nonsense and bullshit that he says publicly and on social media, and the trash that he's telling the world is okay. And then Ben, who's celebrating like my man just won Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but what he really did was he made a free throw, which by the end of it, his stats still sucked from the line. But he's acting like he's the toughest guy on the planet. You just lost in a pathetic way when you had no business of losing at all. Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, and the fellas. And while PJ is very important to the defensive side of the ball, just think about what they needed offensively from this team to go toe-to-toe with that type of firepower. PJ Tucker's basically irrelevant. I'm pointing that out because you look at how everybody else stepped up and had a big role. Shake was balling. My problem with Shake is really just consistency. Or I should say, how inconsistent he is. When he puts it together, he's a scary dude, man. He's tough. He can score in so many different ways. There's layers to his offensive game. At times, I'm kind of in disbelief on how he has a tough angle, but he finds a way to kiss it off the glass and put some dirty spin on it. Good finish. Or it knocks down a shot from deep. Just crazy. They played with an attitude. They played with an edge. And it all started, really, with Niang. I'm laughing underneath the basket. I'm like, yo, dude, chill. Right? Calm down a little bit, dude. Slow your roll just a tad. I love you, Niang, and I know you're not afraid to get into anybody's grill. But we can't wake up the beast. We can't let Kevin Durant get motivated. Just take it for what it is. Then he does it again in the corner. I mean, I love it now. It's easy to say it was beautiful now, but I'd be lying if I said in the moment I thought it was genius. It ended up working out that way. But this Nets team, they're not real. They pretend that they're real. Ever since they failed with Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant. And I know that there was a lot of health concerns then. When they were on the court together, they weren't that bad, but the amount of games that they were actually on the floor together was so minuscule that they weren't really able to get themselves established. And then you had the game where Kevin Durant in Game 7 against the Milwaukee Bucks, and he talked about his foot on the line, how close it was, and all that. But at this point, there's no chemistry there. Kevin Durant publicly not happy. The Steve Nash debacle. Who is their general manager? Well, we know who he is. I'm just saying, with Sean Marks, it's a bizarre scenario. And with dealing with the Kyrie stuff every single day, dealing with the Ben Simmons drama in the beginning. And to his credit, he's worked out of that a bit. There was a time where I thought it was getting pretty damn aggressive to the point where the human being was broken. And now the fact that he got out of that, I'll go back to bashing him insanely and calling him a loser because, well, deep down, that's what he really is. I don't love much about the broadcast when it's on TNT. But one thing I really do agree with from Chuck is the fact that all we ever did was ask him to mature as a basketball player. All we demanded was for you to add to your game. Look at his fourth quarter statistics. Let me know if anything changed. How many years now have I sat here in my studio and expressed to everyone that Furkan Korkmaz is just a regular season basketball player? Which there's a role for that. Kudos to you, Korkmaz. You can make a living playing in the NBA, being a late bench guy that should see zero playoff time, but you have a role in the postseason, in the regular season. That's Ben Simmons. That's who he has become. A guy who could put up some numbers on the stat sheet that may make you smile in the regular season. But my man is the same. I'm laughing. He passed the ball to Kevin Durant right around the free throw line. He knocked down a mid-range J, and I thought to myself, I could do that. There's nothing special about that assist for him. Don't give him credit for that assist. I would actually, if I was the box score guy and I was the stat sheet guy that made sure I took control of everyone's numbers, I'd be like, come on, dude. Stop. Come on. Do something. That doesn't count. Because Broads would have gotten an assist there. That's what I would put down on the paper. Oh, man, what an electric night down at the Wells Fargo Center, though. It was really cool to see everyone there and kind of have that energy towards the Sixers game. Because let's be honest, there was a bit of deflation involved when we saw that Joel Embiid wasn't going to play the next couple of games. And I was stunned that he even finished the game when he rolled his ankle on George Niang laying on the floor underneath the basket. And then 5 seconds later, he's diving on the ground for a loose ball. Joel Embiid, that is. I didn't anticipate him to even finish that game. So the fact that he did, I never thought about him missing future time. Maybe shame on me and I was being a fool, but I just figured, well, if he could go the rest of that time, then he'll be all right before the next game. So that lost a little bit of the mojo. But as the team started the ball and as the team started to go, you look at that first quarter. What did they score? 30, what was the first quarter? They scored 33 points in the first quarter. 33-26. Niang, Shake, Harrell. They ended the quarter on a 15-6 run. But like I said, I thought eventually it would play out the way that it normally does when there's more skill on one team. But the heart, I've been mentioning this lately. They're playing a better brand of basketball. They're playing more cohesive and as a unit. Now, you can make the argument that, is it possibly irrelevant if these are just energy role players trying to show that they have something in their repertoire for whenever the coach gets their healthy players back and they want to make a statement? My point is, does it matter if they're playing a better brand of basketball when it's not the most important guys? And I would make the argument that, yeah, it still matters. Because there's something to be said about momentum. There's something to be said about the fact that this team is feeling better about themselves. This team is starting to become one. No matter who starts that. I don't care if it's Matisse Thybulle, Paul Reed, Shake Milton, DeAnthony Melton. It's irrelevant to me who. And by the way, I think it really started with Joel Embiid scoring 50-plus, dropping 40-plus. I want to look at the one game that Embiid had that we just completely looked over. And it's hysterical because on how ridiculous it really is. It was the... he had 42 and 10, 42, 10, and 6. Only making 1 3-pointer, by the way. On November 12th. The next night, on a second half of a back-to-back, my man drops 59, 11, and 8 with 7 blocks, only making 1 3 again. And we just look at the 42 as like not a big deal. Yeah, he had 42 the night before, and he had 50. Excuse me? Excuse me? So actually, as we talk through this, it really was the big man. It really was the, I would say, MVP of the league over the last couple of seasons, even though he got robbed. That started this. And that's what good leaders do. And then from there, everyone else follows suit. Everyone else kind of establishes themselves. And that's what you're getting. So, screw that. Screw that question I brought up on who's actually doing this. Does it matter? Is it the best? No, it's Joel. It's Joel. There's just a domino effect that's bleeding in to all the other players at this moment. So you just got to give it some time. I know it's frustrating. I know it's a weird feeling. Proud of the energy surrounding the team, no doubt about it. But it feels like something's missing, which makes a lot of sense. Because we want to see Harden, and we want to see Embiid, and we want to see them together with Tyrese Maxey to figure out who they are right now. But we don't really know. But I also understand that playing this way and winning basketball games this shorthanded and Tobias. Now, the difference is Tobias put up 21 shots tonight. He's not going to have the luxury of that when the main fellas are back. So it's how do you maximize Tobias Harris with less shots, but him still being effective? And him still playing at a rate that is hungry. Because he looked hungry. That was the hungriest Tobias Harris we've seen in quite some time. And it was after the injury. But I like what I heard after the game. And I think, once again, this is something that Joel Embiid preaches over the last few years. Remember, there were times where Joel wasn't playing back-to-backs. They were always trying to limit him. They weren't really worried about the games and the upcoming games, but just his health. But over the last few years, it's the complete different. It's the complete opposite. It's all about Embiid's playing every back-to-back. Embiid's out. Now, this is different because he actually tweaked his ankle, and it was pretty ugly. But just normally, he's always there. He's always available. Well, hearing that Tobias Harris was like, we're already down how many starters? I won't allow it to be a fourth. We're how close to winning this basketball game? The team needs me. So while people were bitching and complaining about who Joel Embiid was for the first 5 games of the season, let's not lose sight of what he really means outside of just what he does dominance-wise. When you start peeling back the layers and recognizing that a lot of what you're seeing now, I truthfully believe, stems from who the star is of the show and who the face of the franchise is, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, we'll take some anytime hotline calls. What Ben said, he thought it was going to be louder. So did I. I thought it was going to be louder too, but there's 2 ways to think about it. There's a couple ways. One is because it wasn't a big game because Tyrese, Embiid, and James Harden wasn't there. And, if this is a playoff series against the Nets, oh, Ben, it's going to be louder. But I also feel that at some point, while it was loud and he did hear it, was there an emphasis on the Sixers winning? At some point, it's like, All right, yeah. I mean, we're going to boo you. You knew that, but you're not going to control our life. You want us to care about you more. We care. We can't run away from it fully. There's definitely that emotional tie there because you ruined what could have been because you're lazy and you don't care enough about your job and getting better at your craft. But at the same time, look at what our team's doing to you right now. Let's embrace that side of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching with that one. I acknowledge that from the beginning. Maybe that's just me saying that right now. I don't know really how to interpret it. Majority of me thinks it's just because of what players were playing and what players weren't playing. But at the same time, out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, when you see an ex-girlfriend at the bar, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, but you also want to kind of play that card of like, you don't mean that much to me anymore. I'll acknowledge you're there, but there's a line. And was the fan base finding that line? I don't know. Could be a reach. All right, we'll take some calls. Here we go.
Before this game started, for sure, Sixers had no business winning this game. And then Tobias twisted his ankle, and it became the Tobias Harris show. And it was great watching him just having a great game today. And Niang showing up, and this team just had a lot of guts. I just kind of wish we booed Ben Simmons a little bit more, but hey, this was a great, tough, fought-out victory.
I get it. I do. I get it. I get that. We thought it would probably be on 1,000, and it maybe wasn't on a full-on 1,000. Whatever. It is what it is. I think when the moment gets bigger and when it's a different scenario, we'll probably get to the point that we thought it would be tonight. If Embiid, Harden, and Maxey were playing, would it be what we thought? Probably. So then that would knock my theory right into the trash can. But if they were winning and they were dominating and Embiid had 40 and Ben had 0 in the fourth quarter and the Nets are putting their team on the bench with 3 minutes to go, down 14, are we just focused on what our team is doing and how well they're playing? I don't know. I could be searching for answers with this one for a long period of time. But yeah, Tobias was a different animal. Tobias got hungry. Tobias said, this is my time. And that's why when Tobias is missing and he's not playing, and when I get the comments of who cares about Tobias, he's not that great of a player, he's a fourth option. Well, no. You're downplaying what he can do. A strong Tobias Harris stretch goes a long way. I know he's not the favorite. I know he's not loved by everybody. And the money is always going to be the butt when we speak about Tobias Harris. And that's fair because he'll never live up to those numbers. But I've come to terms with that. I look at him more as what he can provide with these other players and their skill sets. And I think there's a lot there. When he's grooving, he's grooving. And I go back to last year and I go, he was one of your most consistent players in the postseason. And that's what we care about right now. Getting over the hump and finally reaching an Eastern Conference final. If not even more than that. That's not just the goal, but clearly we have to take one step at a time. Well, some players maybe don't have the best regular seasons, but can ball in the postseason. Some guys have great regular seasons, can't ball in the postseason. I've seen Tobias Harris on both ends of the floor be extremely sharp. I'm going to live on that for right now. Whether you like it or not, I'm going to put a lot of stock into that. Let's take another call.
First off, Ben Simmons and the Nets are complete losers. Let's just admit that right now. They pulled the plug with 3 minutes left, and oh my God, Ben Simmons, he scored 11 points? Man, he's on the up and up. It's so hilarious how the level of expectations for this guy has reached so low to the point where having a mediocre game like this is now considered, oh my God, he's reached something. But I'm just going to focus on the Sixers from now on. What a gritty win this team had without their three best players. Tobias Harris, fantastic. George Niang, fantastic. Even Paul Reed had his moments. I mean, this is a big-time win, and hopefully one they can build off of.
He had more than just moments. Paul Reed was ridiculous. And we have to note this. The head coach, he doesn't only coach the losses. The head coach deserves praise when these type of wins happen. Fair? Right? This is something that's always lost in the debate of a head coach in the NBA. If you're the type of person that puts a lot of stock in the NBA head coach, and you're going to rip them for every time they fail, which is unfair in my opinion, but if you are one of those people who do, well, when they win a game like this, Doc Rivers deserves to be at the top of the list if he's going to be on the top of the list in all the losses. And by the way, by the end of the year, if you were to live that way, you should be praising him more than you bash him. But I look at the players way more than the coach. But in a scenario where you lose so many guys, then the coach is more of an impact and has his fingerprints more on it. Because you have to get more creative. You have to get cuter. So there is more to it with this type of circumstance. Just saying. I haven't really seen much of the Doc support after this game. We got a text message coming in. That was a big win by an injured squad. I don't understand why Tobias can't do that. What do you mean? I literally watched him do that last year in the playoffs. Yes, I understand he's the fourth option. Refreshing win. Hopefully a momentum. I've seen Tobias Harris do this in the playoffs. So I think that text is a little wrong. I think that's false. All right, we'll do one more phone call and then wrap some things up here.
Brooklyn Nets, what happened? How did you lose to the Sixers with no Joel, no James, no Tyrese, and they hurt Tobias? You just got absolutely cooked by Shake Milton and George Niang. What the hell just happened? I am shocked. I am so happy Ben Simmons is a fraud. He sucks.
Well, we knew that. That's nothing new. That's something that's basic. But this is why I say I'm not trying to downplay the Sixers at all. This was a fantastic win. I'm so proud in their effort. I'm so proud in the way that they played. They played extremely hard, and they wanted it way more while the other team had so much more talent. A lot of the broadcasts and a lot of the people out there were trying to say that the Nets sucked and take away credit from the Sixers because the Nets played so poorly. But what you're not factoring in is how badly the Sixers wanted it and how much better these role players executed than the stars of the other team. With that said, and I don't want this to sound like hypocritical, but this happens all the time in the NBA. When the Sixers are healthy and they go on the road and they lose to a team that don't have their best players available, that's like, oh my God, this team sucks. It all evens out. It all evens out. It's going to be game 39 of the regular season. They're going to go to Indiana. Embiid's going to be healthy. Harden's going to be back. Indiana's going to be just depleted. And Indiana's going to win a game. And you're going to be like, oh, my God, this team sucked. But then they win this game, which they shouldn't have won. And Indiana's role players had a good day. Sixers struggled. They weren't mentally engaged. Whatever. Yada, yada, yada. You know, that's why I say, like, oh, my God, I'm stunned. Yeah, I mean, I didn't believe fully. I had a feeling that they were going to compete hard and be in this at home due to the Ben Simmons return. At the same time, did I think it would be this level of win? No. I don't know. Probably not. No. But this stuff happens in this league. This is how it goes. Take it for what it is. All right, everyone. You guys are great. I love you. Had a lot of fun today watching this team, and they're right back at it tomorrow. So, they play, I'm having a brain fart. They play the Hornets. That's right. The Hornets. Before they do their little magic double-double. All right, everyone. Thank you. Talk to you guys later.